Have you ever been completely paralyzed by a new situation? Maybe, a big meeting, first day at a job, even just a really loud street.
Yeah, definitely. You feel kind of exposed,
Well,
right?
very
Like looking for any signal that said, okay, it's safe.
Exactly. Now imagine you're this huge, impressive fish, the Asian Arowana, very valuable, often quite skittish,
Mm-hmm.
and you're hiding in the corner of this fancy tank, basically relying entirely on a tiny little companion fish, maybe 3 inches long, just to feel safe enough to come out.
It sounds completely backwards, doesn't it?
It really does. So what if the real key to handling that kind of intense stress isn't, being alone or fighting back, but just having this unassuming active friend nearby?
That's exactly the phenomenon we're diving into today. We're unpacking the specialized but actually pretty universal science of what are called dither fish.
Dither fish. Oh,
Yeah, and how they help manage stress in fish tanks and aquatic environments. We're looking at notes from fish-keeping experts, observations that really highlight how these unlikely buddies work, like little visual safety anchors.
okay, so our mission today isn't just defining dither fish. We want to get into the why, right? How does that nonverbal cue actually work? And what changes? Like, what specific behaviors shift when these little companions are suddenly there? We'll look at stores, even backyard ponds, to see how broad this really is.
Right, and the core thing to remember here,
The main takeaway.
yeah, the main takeaway is that these fish pairings, they create this constant safety signal. It's like visual reassurance that just overrides that natural urge to flee.
And lets them act naturally, like swimming around, eating.
Exactly. Even for really stressed out, high-value fish, it encourages totally normal behavior.
Okay, let's unpack that setup then. We know the dither fish is there to cut down on stress. But how does it actually work? What makes a fish a dither fish?
Well, functionally, it's usually a smaller, very active fish put in with a larger, more sensitive one,
Right.
but it's less about size and more about behavior.
Okay.
The expert notes really stress this. It needs to be an observer, someone the main fish watches, not something it might eat.
Ah, so it can't be seen as potential food.
Definitely not. Its role is to model calm, confident behavior.
Right, and the classic example you mentioned is the arowana. Huge fish, looks imposing, but actually super sensitive.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when they're young or just moved into, say, a shop display tank. Total bundles of nerves.
Why is that? Just the newness.
Think about the environment from their perspective.
Right.
Big glass box, bright lights overhead, and then constant movement outside. Shadows, people walking past.
Right, like us looking in.
Exactly. To a fish like an arowana, a sudden shadow could easily look like a bird overhead, a predator. So what do? They often just freeze in the darkest corner, facing out, kind of paralyzed by all the ambient uncertainty.
So the environment itself is the stressor, and the arowana just doesn't know how to gauge the real threats from the background noise?
Precisely. It defaults to hiding. And that's where this ingenious signaling mechanism of the dither fish comes into play.
Okay.
The sources often mention pairing that Asian arowana with the Silver Tip Tetra. Tiny little fish, Hasamini inana,
Silver Tip Tetra. Got it. Tiny, but active.
very active, always zipping around, exploring the midwater.
That feels like such a power imbalance, though. Couldn't the big arowana just look at this tiny tetra darting about and think, oh, that thing's too small or fast to worry. Its behavior doesn't tell me anything.
That's a really sharp question. The thinking, based on the observations, is that it works precisely because the dither fish is smaller and, theoretically more vulnerable.
Okay.
If the tetra, which should be the first to bolt if danger appears, is just casually swimming out in the open, maybe flashing his lateral line, feeding, the arowana seems to conclude, okay, if that easy target isn't scared, maybe that shadow I saw wasn't a threat after all.
It's like using the tetra as a canary in a coal mine, almost.
Sort of, yeah. A living, showing all clear signal.
Which raises another critical point, then. What if the dither fish itself gets spooked? If the tetra darts for cover, doesn't that just confirm the arowanas' worst fears and make things worse?
That's absolutely the risk. And it highlights why choosing the right dither fish is so crucial. The notes emphasize reliability. You can't pick a species that's naturally super jumpy. And obviously, if it's so small, it just gets eaten immediately. Well, the system fails completely.
So you need a robust little fish, active but consistently calm.
Exactly. They need to be the steady presence. They set the mood for the whole tank, you could say.
Yeah.
It's about modeling reliable confidence.
Not about fighting threats, just broadcasting this continuous low-threat vibe.
Right. And the effect of that signal, it's often immediate and pretty amazing to see. real tangible benefits for the big fish.
Okay, let's talk about those benefits, because stress isn't just hiding, is it? It affects their health, growth.
Oh, absolutely. So when the arowana sees the tetra cruising around calmly, its stress levels drop. It shifts from pure survival mode
To something more normal.
yeah, like exploration mode. It stops just sticking to that one safe corner. It starts using the whole tank, swimming around.
Which must be better for it physically, too.
Mm-hmm.
Muscle development, that kind of thing.
Definitely. And then there's the big one, the indicator every fish keeper watches for.
Feeding behavior.
Feeding behavior, exactly. A really stressed fish often won't eat properly or to be very secretive about it. Dart out, grab food, dart back. Ambush style.
High stress eating.
Right.
Right.
But with the Dither fish present, signaling it's safe out here, the arowana often abandons that. It'll swim out openly, feed more readily.
Which means better nutrition, healthier growth.
The whole package, all potentially triggered by just watching that little tetra swim around. It encourages them to override that fear response.
That change in feeding is really the proof it's working then. What's so interesting you mentioned is that this isn't just for fancy arowanas in shops. The sources say this happens elsewhere.
Yeah, this isn't some niche trick for high-end fish. It seems to be a pretty universal concept in aquatic social dynamics. To show that, let's totally switch gears. Forget the display tanks. Let's talk about, say, mixed outdoor ponds.
Okay, like a backyard pond setup.
Could be, yeah. Let's consider a fish known for being a bit nervous, like the jewel cichlid.
Jewel cichlid. Okay, what are they like on their own?
Well, if you look at control groups ponds, with only jewel cichlid's observers, note they're often quite reclusive.
Hiding.
Lots of hiding. Tucked away under plants, deep inside little caves or pots people put in, they seem to feel very exposed near the surface, under the open sky or bright light.
Okay, so baseline is nervous hiders. But what happens if you add other fish, particularly active ones?
That's where it gets interesting. The sources describe mixed ponds, where you add really active, visible surface fish. Like guppies are a classic example.
Guppies.
Yeah.
Everyone knows guppies. Small, colorful, always moving.
Exactly. And their constant busy activity near the surface seems to completely change the vibe for everyone else in the pond.
So the guppies, just by doing their normal guppy things, swimming around, being visible, they act as what, like mood stabilizers for the whole pond?
That's a great way to put it. They're essentially broadcasting everything's normal up here, and other species known to be a bit skittish, like maybe Gouramis or Swordtails.
Also common pond or aquarium fish.
Right. They tend to become noticeably calmer. They don't retreat quite so quickly. They seem generally less stressed just because the guppies are around.
Okay, so a general calming effect. But what about feeding time? That's the acid test, right? Does their feeding change like the arowanas?
It's a really stark difference according to the observations. In the single-species ponds, those cichlids, or Gouramis, they'll often wait for food pellets to sink down near their hiding spots.
The dart and grab method again.
Yeah. But when the guppies are there, actively feeding right at the surface, bustling around without a care.
What happens then?
The Gouramis and Swordtails often just abandon their hiding spots completely.
Yeah.
They come right up to the surface and compete for the food openly, right alongside the guppies.
Wow, that is such a powerful example of, it's like social proof, but for fish. They're not really analyzing the risk, are they? They're just seeing the guppies acting confident and thinking, well, if they're okay.
Then maybe I am too.
Mhm.
Seems to be that simple. They model the behavior of the group that appears secure.
So if we try to connect the dots here, from the fancy arowana tank to the backyard pond.
The pattern seems pretty clear, doesn't it? Whether it's a huge, potentially dangerous arowana watching a tiny tetra below it, or a nervous Gouramis watching active guppies above them, the core mechanism looks the same.
Active, confident movement by one species.
Acts as this powerful, nonverbal signal to others that the environment is basically safe. It's a visual anchor.
Okay, so this is fascinating for fish keepers, obviously. But for someone listening who maybe doesn't have an aquarium or a pond, why should they, care about ditherfish? What's the relevance?
Well, I think it taps into something deeply relevant to us, too. It's almost a direct parallel to human social psychology, isn't it?
How so?
It's a really vivid, observable example of social proof in action. We do this all the time, unconsciously maybe. We constantly gauge how safe or okay a situation is by watching how other people are reacting.
I see. So if we walk into a tense meeting and see someone looking completely relaxed and confident,
We tend to relax a little ourselves, right? That person, in that moment, is kind of acting like our ditherfish.
that's the real insight then. Our own comfort, our willingness to participate, even basic stuff like feeling relaxed enough to eat in a public place.
Yeah.
It's often influenced by watching others.
Exactly. Feeling safe isn't always just about our own internal risk assessment. It's often communal nonverbal. We pick up cues from the state of others around us. It's like this information bypasses this slower, more analytical part of our brain and goes straight to the "am I okay" center.
Which brings us right back around. We've learned about these amazing pairs today. The mighty Arowana eating the little Silver Tip Tetra, and the bustling Guppies creating this sense of calm for Gouramis and Swordtails. It shows that confidence, just displayed through activity, is kind of contagious.
It absolutely is. And the flip side is probably true too. Anxiety can likely spread just as quickly through observed behavior. The fish that swims boldly sets the tone for the whole tank.
And that insight that just an unassuming, calm presence can dramatically change the behavior and reduce anxiety in even powerful creatures. That's really the payoff of this deep dive, isn't it?
I think so. It's specialized knowledge, sure, but it points to a phenomenon affecting basically all social creatures, including us.
So here's the final thought we want to leave you with, building directly on this idea of nonverbal safety signals. If the mere presence of a calm, active little fish can completely change how comfortable, healthy, and willing to eat a big, skittish fish feels, what signals are you sending out?
Ooh, interesting question.
In your own environments, your team at work, your family, your friends, are you the one broadcasting calmness, encouraging others to metaphorically swim freely and eat openly? Or are you, perhaps unconsciously, retreating to the corner and maybe amplifying the background stress?
Are you the dither fish or the one needing a dither fish?
Exactly, something to mull over until our next deep dive.